Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we are going to be looking at Tom Baker's top 15 stories in Doctor Who, or the top 15 Fourth Doctor stories, whichever one I label it as in the title. It's really hard to narrow it down because Tom, being the Doctor for so long, I believe he has 42 stories total, including Shada. So narrowing it down to 15 is not easy, especially with Season 13 going to be taking up so much of it, because Season 13 is probably objectively the best season the show's ever had. But we're going to start off with City of Death, my personal favorite Doctor Who story of all time. I love City of Death. I'm really looking forward to my Season 17 box set getting in. It still hasn't. I've actually ordered a second one. I ordered this one from Rare Waves, and somebody I know, if both copies do make it in alright, I think I know someone who would buy the other one off me. But just in case something's gone wrong with the Zavvi one, it did ship around the holidays. I could have another one coming in. But I haven't watched City of Death in probably around 10 years. Just because I don't own it. I was always waiting for a special edition of the DVD and it never came. So I'm looking forward to seeing it again because I love the story. I love the location work. I love how well Tom and Lala get on in it. Their chemistry is just amazing in this story. I love Julian Glover in it as Scalione, is that his name? Scarth? I forget. I like the woman playing his wife. I like the guy playing Duggan. I love the humor, and I love Douglas Adams' humor a lot. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy Shada as well. And I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books. I really just love that style of humor. It's definitely all in this story. My favorite scene in all of Doctor Who is in this story when they're first bringing Tom Baker and Duggan and Romana in and basically interrogating them. The scene that has that line, well, why would he be following me? Well, you're a beautiful woman, probably. I love that. Could be my favorite line in all of Doctor Who. Well, you're a beautiful woman, probably. I love that. It's very Tom Baker. It's very Fourth Doctor. I think is probably, if there's any underrated story in Season 13, it would probably be Planet of Evil. Because Planet of Evil could very much be the standout story in other seasons. It's really, really good. I love the jungle set on it is really good. The planet set is really well done and just a masterpiece, a marvel to look at. I enjoy the acting from most of the crew. The guy who actually plays like the captain of the ship doesn't seem very suited as the captain of the ship and is a little two-dimensional to me. But the older guy who plays his second in command is great. I like him. I like the design of the creature that kind of, it looks kind of like the id from Forbidden Planet. At least that's what I always hear. I haven't seen Forbidden Planet. I think that's really neat. I love the story. I love how good Tom is in this story, where he's always in control of the situation. He always seems to know what's going on. I really, really enjoy. I like the guy who plays the professor in it too. I forget the professor's name at this point, but the guy who's the actual professor, the scientist in it, I like him a lot. It's just a really good story and fits really well in Season 13, especially with the whole Jekyll Hyde stuff. Really good story. Of course, naturally, Genesis has to be on here. Genesis of the Daleks is a classic for a reason. It deserves all of the accolades it gets. I actually think it's pretty well paced. I know some people have a little problems with the pacing. Of course, there's an omnibus version for that, but I think it's paced well anyway. It's a great origin story for the Daleks. And plus, I think it's the best we ever see Davros. I love Michael Wisher's Davros. He's my favorite Davros. Anytime that Tom Baker and Davros interact and talk in this story is just gold. Their interactions are amazing. And the more you see of Davros, the more you realize the megalomania, the instability with this guy, and just how nuts this guy is. That bit when he talks about, holding the capsule that could, release the diseases, the virus that'll kill everything. Yes, I would. And you see him actually do his hand like, yeah, he's thinking about it. Yes, to hold that power in my hand. It set me up among the gods. It's such a great speech. And Tom Baker is just amazing in this story. And of course it has, you know, his famous "Do I Have the Right" speech, which I think is one of the most iconic speeches in all of Doctor Who. And Tom plays that really, really well. And the Daleks, while they're not in it a whole lot, they're great. They're very effective at the end when they show up. You know, how they turn on Davros is just gold. There's always a small part of me that wishes Davros had never come back. That this was the only story with Davros. Because it would very much be a, you know, you're your own undoing in a way. You know, you're destroyed by your own creation or something. There's an irony there. You know, trying to create something so pure Dalek that they see you and they're not like, well, you're not like us, so you gotta go. But I created you. Yeah, but you still gotta go. So I like that kind of comeuppance. There's a part of me, even though we have other great Davros stories, there's a part of me that kind of wishes he had ended here. I think it would have been the perfect ending for him. And then the Dalek speech at the end about, we will prepare. I love that. The Seeds of Doom is also, ooh, I love the Seeds of Doom. It's really hard to pick about which Doctor Who Tom Baker story is my favorite season finale story between this one and another one we'll get to. But I absolutely love Seeds of Doom. I like the Krynoid outfit. I like the story. I love again, the horror vibes I get from this story. The idea of something possessing you and taking you over and you just kind of ceasing to exist is terrifying, you know? So seeing how the thing sprouts and wraps around is really well executing. Watching someone slowly turn into one of these things is really neat. I love Tom Baker in the scenes. There is no Charles! The way he says that, I love that. And then I like how he's still smart aleck in it. Like when Scorby's like, all right, Doctor, turn around. And the Doctor's just like, yes, I'm wearing a nice Doctor Who shirt. And he just spins in a complete 360. I absolutely love that. All right, Doctor, talk. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart had perfect pitch. What happened to him? Oh, he died. I love that. I do think the kind of millionaire who's calling the shots, who is definitely bonkers in the story. I think he's overacted just a little. Just a little. It's not quite hammy, maybe close to hammy, but I still think he pulls it off well. My biggest nitpick, oddly enough, I don't know why this bothers me, but it does, but the little thresher machine never has blood on it. Like, we see the soldier go through it, and then there's never blood on it again. It's like it's a self-cleaning machine. And I don't know why that bothers me, because it makes sense why a kid's show like Doctor Who wouldn't have blood on it. But for some reason it bothers me. But and the fully grown version of the Krynoid does look a little silly, a little classic Who-y, so we should say. Boy, I can't talk to I can do tongue twisters and I can't say that. I can quote Danny Kaye tongue twisters and I can't say that. That's funny. But other than that, it's definitely a really good story. I wish the Brigadier was there too. The unit shows up and I do wish the Brigadier was there, but it's not like Android Invasion where it's a huge gaping hole because none of our familiar unit people are there. It's just unit is there. It's definitely one of the best. I'm being way overly critical here, but it's very phenomenal. It's almost flawless. This is one of the Doctor Who stories I have earliest memories of. It and Inferno are the two I have earliest memories of. So I have a strong soft spot for Ark in Space right there. But the fact that it is just a phenomenal story and is treated as such, it's considered such. It deserves all of its accolades. I know, some of the creatures are bubble wrap. But one, keep in mind, bubble wrap was a new invention at the time, and two, it's one of those where the story is so good. I mean, we're talking about a story that's largely rewritten by Robert Holmes, and Robert Holmes is just great at what he does. Again, you see Noah slowly changing into this thing, this Weirin. And I love how it's not just a physical change. You see it affecting his mind. It's such a well thought out script where you see him trying to protect everything, giving Vira command because he knows he needs to, and then him slowly, the Weirin slowly in his head, we will consume this world. That whole scene where he's battling with himself is so well done by the actor. It's so well done. Tom, of course, is great in this, like he always is. He does his wonderful speech about Homo sapiens, which is fantastic. I think the set design's pretty nice, too. I know they reuse it in Revenge of the Cybermen, because it's also set on Nerva Beacon, which is an ingenious way to do those stories, where they're set in the same place. I actually really like the set to this story. And it does a good job of making that one room where all the humans are in storage look far more epic than it probably was. They did a really good job of how they built that up, making it look like this kind of grand room, which I like. It's a really, really good story. Next on the list is The Brain of Morbius. Doctor Who Does Frankenstein. I like this. I really like Morbius as a character and wish we would get Morbius back. Because I really like Morbius. To me, Morbius is like a more dangerous version of the Master. Almost like a darker version of the Master. And I would love to see more of that. I love the mind-bending thing between him and the Doctor. That's really cool. As for the faces you see, I still think that's open to interpretation. But I've always enjoyed it. I like Sarah. I like the Doctor and Sarah in it. I like the... was it Solomon? No, I don't think it's Solomon. The Doctor who's trying to bring Morbius back. I forget his name right off the top of my head. It begins with an S. I like the actor playing him. I think he's really good. The Witches of Khan are okay. I've never been the biggest fan of them, but they're fine. It's just a really good story. Season 13 does that kind of Hammer film horror really well, so I really like that. And this is just another great example of it. And I enjoy some of the dialogue, too, like when they're picking at Morbius. Hey, you look like Chop Suey. Ah, Chop Suey, the Galactic Emperor. You will be the first to die. I love that. I like that. And that scene when he's like, you know, I challenge you to a mind-bending contest. I am a daughter of the 5th rank, and I doubt it, Morbius. I love that. I doubt it, Morbius. I love when Tom Baker gets that kind of to his voice, man. It commands the room when he does that. I love it. Next on the list is the Talons of Weng Chiang, which I reviewed recently, so I won't go into much detail on it, but I do love that story. I think the location work at night looks gorgeous, and it definitely does a good job of giving you that kind of Victorian setting. I love that stuff. I love Tom's outfit. His Sherlock Holmes outfit is really, really neat. Leela gets some fun stuff to do here. I love her trying to fit in with Victorian society. I love Jago and Lightfoot. They are so great. I understand why they got their Big Finish spinoff stuff. They are such a great combination. They're great on their own, and they're a great combination. I still like when he's talking about not being able to hypnotize, and the guy's like, I'm like the Rock of Gibraltar, and then he's hypnotized. I love that. I love that. I think the actor playing Chiang does a really good job. I think he treats the role with reverence and respect. I love that when Chiang is speaking on stage, he kind of speaks with that Fu Manchu accent that people would expect, I think, of the time. But when he's off stage, he's much more articulate with his language. He uses his pronouns and his infinitives and stuff like that. He speaks more properly. Which is something that I'd never noticed that little subtle nuance until someone in the comments of another video a while back pointed that out to me. And now that I'm aware of it, I see it when I watch the story, and I really think that was a really good nuance to the way the role was played. And I love the villain, Grell. I like Grell a lot. I think Grell is a great villain. The reveal of what happened to him is a great reveal. The Tom Baker telling him that his scientific experiments led to nothing but a scientific cul-de-sac. I love that speech. It's a really good story. Next on the list is Pyramids of Mars. Another one I don't own. And I think that's actually the only season 13 story I don't have on DVD. I have all the others. I love Pyramids of Mars, so I'm really looking forward to that season 13 box set. I haven't got to watch it probably in about 10 years or so. Aside from the mummies, I think the mummies look a little not too impressive, but the rest of it I enjoy. I think Sutekh is a great villain. I think you never need to bring him back. He's perfect. He's probably the perfect one-off villain. He never needs to come back. I love how the Doctor defeats him, and the only reason the Doctor defeats him is because Sutekh finds the Doctor so beneath him, almost like an insect, that he lets him out of his power just because he just like he thinks of him as an insignificant speck. And the Doctor is able to be clever enough to outwit him quickly. Because the Doctor is definitely up against someone who's far more powerful than he is here. And I love Sutek's voice, that whisper voice that Gabriel Wolf, I believe it is, who voices him, who also voiced the Beast in the Satan Pit. Gabriel Wolf's voice here, that quiet, almost whisper voice, is so effective, so effective. Really helps sell the character. And of course, that cliffhanger in episode 1 when the one guy walks out of the portal and puts his hands on the other guy's shoulder and you just see the smoke come off of him as he kills him. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Such a good story. Another one on here is The Pirate Planet. This is my favorite season 16 story. I really like this one. It might not be a masterpiece like some of the other ones on the list, but it has a strong rewatchability, and that goes into me. When I was comprising this list, I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, there were really 3 things I was looking at. I was looking at it objectively, I was looking at it subjectively, which ones I like the best, and then I was also looking at rewatchability. And while The Pirate Planet might not be a masterpiece story that when you're telling, oh, hey, you haven't seen Classic Who, you need to watch da-da-da-da-da, you might not mention it. It has a strong rewatchability for me. One, it's written by Douglas Adams. I love Douglas Adams' humor, as I've mentioned before, so I really love a lot of the interplay going on here. 2, the 4th Doctor is my favorite Doctor, and I think Tom Baker and Douglas Adams go really well together. Douglas Adams' witty writing really fits the 4th Doctor and Tom Baker really, really well. They mesh well. So Tom has some great lines in The Pirate Planet. He has a lot of just delicious lines I love listening to the 4th Doctor say. Like when he walks in there and he's just like, hello, how are you doing? Oh, I see you met my Romana, my assistant, how are you doing? And then they all grab me. He's like, I don't think much of the hospitality. You know, I love a lot of his dialogue in this. I love the Captain. Does he overact a bit and overplay it? Yeah, but it fits the story. Mr. Fibula, by the 7 moons of Nebula. I love all of that. Plus the fact that, you know, if you get past that, you realize the Captain's a pretty intelligent fellow to be able to engineer all of this. And, you know, he does have a sense of honor to him, too, that he wants to get out among the stars. And his plan that he has, his plan with all of those little pieces, oh, that's an ingenious plan. Even the Doctor is impressed that he's made that work. So the Captain actually, I think, is probably an underrated character. I think he's a really neat character in this. I really enjoyed the story. Plus, the location work looks gorgeous as the film elements still survive for the story. So I literally noticed when I was watching the DVD recently, I reviewed it not long ago, as I was watching the DVD, I was sitting there going, man, the location work looks so good. Is that the original film elements? And I had to stop and go look it up because it looked so good. I was curious, and sure enough, it is. It's the original film elements still survived to the location work. That's going to look gorgeous, gorgeous on that box set when it comes out. Next on the list is the Sunmakers. I like the Sunmakers. I don't think it's usually considered a bad story, but I know that it's not held like say Horror of Fang Rock is in season 15. I think most people would agree Horror of Fang Rock is probably the best story of season 15. But I really enjoy the Sunmakers. Well, again, it's a Robert Holmes script. Obviously, Robert Holmes was very pissed off as a taxman at the time. I think the script is perhaps a little stronger than the execution, but I still think the execution is really well done. I know that one tax auditor is a little hammy, but I'm fine with it. I like the performance. To me, it fits. I like the guest characters. The really weaselly guy, I like him. The one guy who's kind of getting hosed by him at the beginning because he got his dad the Golden Death, I think he does fine in it. I think it's a really fun story, especially since so much of Tom Baker's run, especially early on, is tied up in the gothic horror style. It's nice to have a story like this that isn't. And so it's definitely one of my favorite Tom Baker stories that's not got the hammer horror going on. I really enjoyed the Sunmakers. It's a really fun watch. Next on the list is the, the Ribos operation? I always get that. I could literally watch that story and an hour later I couldn't tell you. It's Ribos, I think it's Ribos. Operation. I really like this one. Again, it's a Robert Holmes script. I love Robert Holmes. Like The Pirate Planet, it's not one of those that when people are talking about top 10 Tom Baker stories you should watch, it's not going to be mentioned. But again, it's on this list for me because it has a strong rewatchability. I go back to this one a lot. Like I watch Ribos Operation more often than I watch Genesis, for example. Even though Genesis is a better story, Genesis is like a fine wine. You know, I just want to watch it every now and then when it's been a while so I can savor it. But when I'm in the mood for just a fun Doctor Who story I like, I go back to this one, to Operation. And I think it's good. I think all of the cast do a good job. I love the conversation between the Doctor and the White Guardian at the beginning. What if I don't agree to do it? What happens? Nothing. Nothing? Yes. Nothing. Ever. I love the conversation with the Doctor and Romana right when she first shows up in the TARDIS. I'm Romana nothing. Oh, are you? Well, I'm terribly sorry about that. Aren't you sorry about that, K9? I love that whole exchange there. I like the exchange when they first get out of the TARDIS on the planet. Look, by the time I say all that, you could be dead. How about I just call you Romana? I don't really think I like that. Well, it's either Romana or Fred. I think I'd rather you call me Fred. Right. Come on, Romana. I love that. I love that. Again, it's just that Fourth Doctor gold that I love. I love the Fourth Doctor's humor. To me, that's so inherent in the Doctor. Troughton has that as well. I think that's one of the reasons why when some people are like, my favorite Doctor's Capaldi, I'm always confused. Like, seriously, I can't wrap my mind around that. I'm like, really? Why? Because for me, the Doctor has that kind of humor to him like the Fourth Doctor has. The Fourth Doctor is kind of my gold standard that I measure all the other Doctors to. Because everybody has a gold Doctor, has a gold standard they have for the Doctor. And mine is the Fourth Doctor. Yeah, I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the guest cast in it a lot. I like the Graf Vindicay and his right-hand man. I think they do a good job. The two traders, the kind of more senior the two con men, the more senior one, I like him a lot. I think he does a good job. Not quite as keen on his second in command, the other one with him. I don't really care for him a lot. He's okay. And then the guy playing Benro, I think he does a pretty good job. It's a good story. I really enjoy it. Next on the list is Robot. I love Robot. That is more a subjective thing, but again, it has a strong rewatchability to it. Plus, I love the fact that I'm getting a Pertwee story post-Pertwee. I mean, we had a pre-Pertwee story, basically, with the invasion, and you could argue Web of Fear, too, honestly. And so it's nice to kind of have a post-Pertwee story to kind of close off that era with Robot. And I enjoy Robot. Does the robot look silly? Yes. Yes, it does. But I still love it. It's just a fun time. It is. Sometimes you just want a Doctor Who story that's fun. And I find Robot fun. And I love the fact Tom Baker just hits the gate running. Tom Baker is one of those Doctors that just seems to slip into the role like a glove. And he just hits it right from the off. And I love that. You may be a Doctor, but I'm the Doctor. The definite article, you might say. I love Robot. And of course, one that I have to mention on here is the Horror of Fang Rock. This one's kind of mandatory because I think if I did like a top 15 Tom Baker or Fourth Doctor story list and didn't mention Horror of Fang Rock, I'm pretty sure Ham would send a hitman after me. And rightfully so. He would be right to do so because Horror of Fang Rock deserves to be on that list. Horror of Fang Rock is phenomenal. One of my subscribers and one of my patrons, Ham, we're both big fans of Horror of Fang Rock. That was actually his... when he first became a patron, that was his video request. He wanted me to do a review of it. Such a good story, and I don't own it on DVD. I watched it online, so I'm really looking forward to that season 15 box set for a multitude of reasons, but the main reason is I want Horror of Fang Rock. Such a good story. I love... Not only is the story phenomenal, just the script is great. It's, you know, it's Terrence Dicks being amazing like Terrence Dicks does. But the execution of the script is really well done. I love the eerie creepiness of that green glow whenever you see it from the Rutan. Two, I just love seeing the Rutan. You know, we know the Rutans are big enemies of the Sontarans. That's been established. But I like being able to see a Rutan, and I love the fact that the Rutans are not humanoid at all. They are totally alien, which is fascinating. Although I love their ability to adapt a physical appearance. That's really neat, too. And I really like the actor... who plays the kind of older sailor whose name is escaping me. The actor, I believe, also played an Enemy of the World, if I remember correctly. Because first he's playing the sailor, like the first half of the story, and then he's playing the Rutan disguised as a sailor. And he does a really good job with both. I like him as an actor. Especially how when he's first being the Rutan, he's very inhuman. He hasn't quite got the being, pretending to be a human down, much like Eric Roberts as the Master at the beginning of the TV movie when he's still kind of getting it down. But over the course of it, you see him kind of adjusting. Like you see him when he's first trying to smile and it looks terrifying. And then later you see him kind of mastering smiling down, but he's smiling at the wrong times. Like he doesn't know when he's supposed to smile. It's really, really nuanced acting that I really like. And then just the story is good. That really is the story I point to when I'm like, Doctor Who is supposed to be violent. Not everybody makes it out. As it is famously a story where all of the guest cast dies. All of them. You don't want to be a guest cast character in the horror of Fang Rock. It's one of those things you wake up in the morning and they're like, hey, what's going on? We're in the horror of Fang Rock story in Doctor Who. Crap. Next on the list is Shada. I've talked before about how much I love Shada. Again, I love Douglas Adams' style of writing. I love his wit. I love his dialogue. I really love Professor Chronosis. They could have done a spin-off show just about the Professor offering people tea, and I would have watched that show. I just love him with his tea and his forgetfulness. And yeah, I'd watch a show about that. Anytime I'm watching The Keeper of Traken now and the Keeper shows up, because it's played by the same actor, and he shows up, I'm always sitting there going, why is he not offering me some tea? I love it. The animation is really good. I'm really looking forward to seeing it on the season 17 box set in episodic form. Plus, I want to see just how improved the improved animation is. I mean, is it like one little frame? I want to know just how much of an improvement we're talking about here. Still waiting on my season 17 box set. But the 2017 feature-length version is phenomenal. I love the animation. It works really well. It complements the surviving footage really well. I like the cast. I love Tom Baker in it. Tom Baker and Lala Ward are great in it together, like they pretty much always are in season 17. It's such a good story. I really like the villain in it. I think he's really neat. It's a good story. I really, really, really love Shada. And the last one on the list, of course, State of Decay. We have to mention some Season 18 here. State of Decay is the masterpiece of Season 18 to me. It is my favorite story. I love vampires when vampires are done right, and they are done very right in the story. I love the kind of theatrical acting of the big three in it. They do a very theatrical performance, but I think they're fantastic. The scene where they meet their end is really well executed. It's very impressive. And I really enjoy that. I definitely recommend people watching that. And the reveal of the castle and the secret behind the castle is really neat. I like that. And I just enjoy Tom Baker in this one as well. Again, he's that more somber, serious Season 18 Doctor, but he pulls it off really well. Plus, I just love how it dips into Time Lord lore and kind of explains the backstory, and watching them find out about how the Time Lords fought this great battle against the vampires, ages and ages ago. That's really neat and does a good job of fleshing out the Time Lords a bit. I love State of Decay. Again, much like Horror of Fang Rock, it's Uncle Terrence just being amazing. And for one honorable mention, I was really struggling here because the story I'm going to mention is Robots of Death. But I actually prefer Face of Evil over it. I like Face of Evil more than I do Robots of Death, but I'm giving Robots of Death the honorable mention because I love the design. The script is fine as well, but I love the design. The design of the robots is so iconic and so well done that I think it holds up today. So much of classic Who, especially robots, you can look at it and you can tell it was done in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. They have that look to them, whereas Robots of Death, that robot design, you could do an episode of Doctor Who today and put them in that, or something very close to that, and it would work just fine. I think that's really a testament to a really good design for an episode when it can surpass that meager budget and surpass the 70s, that was going on at the time, and have such a design that stands the test of time. Also, the ship design. Ship design looks fantastic, though. Much like the robots, it has that timeless quality to it. Like a lot of the ships in Classic Who look like products of their time. You know, a 60s ship looks like the 60s idea of what a spaceship in the future would look like. Same thing in the 70s with the 80s, etc., etc. But, you know, unlike some of the other episodes of Doctor Who where you might be like, oh, look, a 70s take on what a future ship looks like. This one really stands the test of time with that ship design, much like Modern Undead, actually. Modern Undead, where it looks like kind of a luxury cruise ship or a luxury liner, you know. It has that look to it, like it's almost made in excess. And because of that, it really stands the test of time. As much as I prefer Face of Evil over, excuse me, over Robots of Death, because I do think Face of Evil is a better story, and I love Leela and Tom in it. They interact well together. I think this one deserves the honorable mention objectively. I don't agree with everything in Robots of Death. I don't really like the villain at the end, especially the outfit he's wearing. But to be fair, that the villain is bonkers, like certifiably bonkers. So for him to act like he's bonkers makes sense. I can't fault that. But I love the design. I love the design of the robots. I love the design of the ship, and that really bumps it up for me. And I'm like, I have to at least mention the Robots of Death, because it's really hard to do a list like that, because there's so many stories that I don't get to mention. I mean, I had to just at least mention Face of Evil, because I personally love Face of Evil. But Tom has so many good stories. It's really hard to narrow them down. Like, I thought about doing a top 20 for him, but that would have been, I would have been able to put almost half his stories on the list, and that felt like cheating. I couldn't just do a top 10, because there's no way half the stories on that list would be from season 13. So 15 seemed a comfortable number, a number that would still challenge me. Because he has so many good stories. It's such a good era. It's not the it's not the easiest thing to do. So, yeah, my top 15 Fourth Doctor stories. I would like to know what you think. What do you think of my list? What would your top 15 stories with an honorable mention or two be? I would like to know what you would think, so comment down below and let me know. I always enjoy hearing from you guys. Other things to do: click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on a new video. I do a new video every day. It's been really neat watching the channel grow. My goal now is to hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you watch my channel a lot and haven't subscribed yet, today's the day I kind of hope I earned that from you. Go ahead and click that subscribe button for me. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do, there is a link to that down in the description below if you have a minute to check that out. I want to give a shout out to my newest patron, Alice Collins. I really appreciate her joining. I hope she's enjoying the bonus content. And I want to give a shout out to my first top tier patron, the Fifth Doctor. It really made my day when I got the notification that he had joined at my top tier level, my first one. So a very special thank you to you. And a thank you to all of my other patrons as well. It's been neat watching the Patreon grow lately. This past month it is, it's really grown. That really makes my day. I really appreciate that. It really helps. I live in the States, so it's nice since I import so much of my stuff. Still waiting on my season 17 to get here. Come on, Zavvi. Come on, U.S. Postal System. And then, of course, I import the steelbooks as well. I love all of the cool stuff that the UK gets that I don't. So frustrating. But I really appreciate everyone helping with that. And, of course, I'm saving up for a house. My apartment is very small. It's like 544 square feet. So I'm looking forward to getting a house. That's coming along really well. Really excited about that. So thank you for all of your support there. And a thank you to all of my patrons. A thank you to all of my subscribers. And most importantly, thank you for watching.